it for a little bit here. Streaming correctly. And hello. I'm Dan Lutz, and I'm here with
Dank.
And we are on Dank Live, episode number 151, and looks like we're actually really are broadcasting correctly on this time, since there was a mess up on the front lines, but that episode is now the lost episode. It was very weird. People could hear me, but the screen was blank, and it hasn't shown up in the playlist. So I don't know what happened there.
I keep hearing that every place too. You know, it's really interesting. We were worried about that with ours too. You know, because I've been trying to do more and more like quick broadcasts in the morning to just just try to get certain quick messages out.
Yeah, I caught that. But I guess it was like a 10-minute broadcast, something like that. It was really good. I like that you had like the 5 points you wanted to cover were up there on the right-hand side, so it kind of keeps you on topic, right? And
yeah, very handy. You know, I think it's, you know, I realize it's like, you know, it doesn't have to be perfect. We obviously are all, you know, you and I are always trying to put out the best that we can. So I'm always trying to figure out how do I get something out there that just you know, the people it'll make sense and be valuable, you know.
Yeah, well, it was good you went over the levels of the hierarchy from the financial and power structure of the world, right? And the governments were down at what was it, level 9?
Level 10.
Level 10.
The UN is actually at level 9.
Oh yeah, okay. The UN is level 9, and the countries are at level 10, and the people are at a level 11.
Well, you know what I think is so interesting about that, right? Is there was remember there was like, let's talk about, there was a big pole shift.
Yes.
Right. So that's how I look at it, like, you know, energetically in relation to this as well. Is like, there's been a pole shift, right? There's been a shift, and everything is really, if you look at it, everything on that list right now should be the exact opposite, you know, except for, you know, Kim. But Kim came around to the people, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have this pole shift. So really, the people, so the government, right? They draw their power from the governed, right? So that would put us in that position. Then from there, the governments, you know, the individual sovereign nations get to choose not to be part of the United Nations. So they're over the United Nations because you make them powerless. Then from there, above that, you have the secret societies that are the ones responsible for, you know, conducting all these satanic rituals and stuff. It's like, well, the governments then enforce the laws because that's what we, as the governed, insist on. Like, that's why we have you there. That's why you have a job. You work for us.
So,
I mean, that's the reality.
Yeah, well, I think it's interesting you said that you know, at the United Nations level, then the countries decide, right, to give up their sovereignty and join the United Nations.
Yeah, well, that's what they did before. Yeah.
Right. So this is.
And now I'm saying like they claim their sovereignty back and
Right.
choose to be a country.
Right. Well, yeah, that is the idea. But it's interesting that it's presented in a way to the world that no one really thinks of it that way, right? And if you ask anyone in America, hey, we gave up our sovereignty to join the UN, and everyone says, oh, that's not true, right? But it was the discussion at the time. I'm sure. People were saying we can't give up our sovereignty because I still remember people yelling about it. But that's because those people knew what they were talking about. So why are you part of the United Nations? Why are you giving up sovereignty? And nobody knows what that means, right? Because it's not. It's like, what do you mean? We're still a country. No.
Yeah.
You're a sub-corporation to a corporation.
Right. Well, no, and now I will say, after talking to Ron Davis a little bit, and he made some great points about this. He said, no, because that's not. He's like, what is the law? Like, what is the law? Like, do you actually know? And the law of the land is actually the Constitution, right? And it's actually, that in the Supreme Court, right? So, he's challenging these guys all the time, and I love what he did. They arrested him on some trumped up charges, right? That were fake. He said they arrested me, and he was like, and I never broke the law, right? And he goes, and so then when he goes into prison, they put him in prison for a year, a little over a year. And while he was there, he got 41 prisoners out. So they don't want to arrest that joker again because man, every one of those represented a paycheck for them. So I love that. I love that he did that.
Yeah. Well, I know I get what he's saying. What the law is. So yeah, the Constitution, the law of the land, is still there, right? But it's depending what hat you're wearing, right? when you're dealing with them. So when people are talking about, well, we've given up our sovereignty. Well, we've agreed that a corporation is now a sub-corporation, but the Constitution's over here, but nobody's, acting out of the republic, right? They're all acting out of the, McDonald's franchise.
Right. Well, I love what he said about this, and like I've heard people say this a lot, about like, they won't say I stand, like I understand, they won't say that, and I agree, right? But something about the way he said it, he goes, when they ask you if you understand it, do you understand the charges? Do you understand what you're being charged with? He goes, no, sir, I do not understand. He goes,
I do not stand under anybody. I don't stand
he said,
under anybody.
I do comprehend your accusation. I said, boom. I mean, it was just such a power statement. I'm like, I am going to talk like that somewhere. I love that. I just think it's so great.
Yeah, So I do comprehend what you're trying to express to me, but I will not stand underneath you.
Right.
I will not be understood.
Right. Simple.
I hate using the word understood or understand or understanding. I really hate using it, but sometimes people are not understanding you. So, like for communication purposes, you say the word and say, "Oh, that's what you're trying to tell me."
Right on.
So it's like I have to. Okay, I'll use the word.
But I get it. I'm so big on words, anyways. Like I really, I'm always trying to expand my vocabulary and the proper usage of what I'm saying. So when somebody like that is really breaking down from a lawful standpoint, right, and driving that home, I realized, like, wow, I really need to step up my game, because no telling how easily you get yourself in trouble just by, one wrong word, and that one wrong word means that you accept your slavery. It's like, oh man, but it's all ridiculous. If we were just focused on the spirit of the law rather than the letter of the law, it wouldn't even matter.
Right. Well, I think that there's no choice other than to replace the whole thing. It's, everything that is in regards to countries and everything else, it all has to be put put into the past, and recognizing countries and people worldwide, and because all of the conversation about what this word means or that word means, and the small print, it's too much to figure out. I mean, there's so many like layers upon layers, and then it's all meant to be confused, and we don't need to live in a world that's confused.
Yeah. It's I agree. I mean, it's fascinating too. And it's really evident, when I talk to a lot of the energy workers and stuff, right? Because they're clearing people's energy, right? And they're just like, things that come up are like confusion, like people are just like they're struggling to get out of this system right now and kind of stand up. And so you have to imagine like there's an energetic component that's just attacking people as well.
Right.
So,
well,
it's a battle.
Well, it looks like we're winning. I think we're going to see these things rolling past. Everyone seems to think that we're now moving very fast on these arrests or indictments. We probably will see people arrested. Like Clapper is looking like, I think he's going to be one that goes down really quickly. So is that like the first to fall? I'm not certain, but Comey, Clapper, and Brennan are all going to be going down relatively around the same time. Then the Clintons will be right after that. It's like building to the crescendo, right? You got to build up to it.
Got to build up to the Clintons going down, huh? I think the Clintons are pretty much just a it's always designed for them to go down.
Say again? You got weak.
Yeah, sorry. Sure. No, the Clintons were the staged, bad guys, right? Like they were supposed to be. They were always supposed to go down.
Right. So I agree, but they still need to go down. And I think that they planned on. I don't think they planned on the Bushes going down. Just saying. I think they were meant to ride it out, but they're both going to go down. Both sets.
They did a great job of that. They really nailed them. Like, way to grab, George Bush Sr. there when he's in a wheelchair and still groping women. Like, you got him. Way to go.
I got it. Yeah.
It's like, do you really get him? I mean, I get him. Like, they crashed the World Trade Center, killed thousands of people, assassinated JFK. I mean, Jack. They lived a good life. And
no doubt.
Finally,
we all
agree it happened.
But I think he went to his grave knowing that that everything that he was trying to set up is gone. So that's the only bit of justice that there was, is that he left knowing that everything he was trying to get is gone. It's not going to happen. So, but I think more or less saying that it's not going to be hidden that the 9/11 event was orchestrated by the government, right, for the purpose of enslaving the planet, right? Not just America, but the whole thing. So I think that now that's what I'm seeing. It's like, so the Clintons were meant to look bad and fall, and take a fall as a bad guy, so that the world UN can come in and sweep in and be the savior, right? But the Bushes would be riding it out again. But now we have I think a new game, and I think we're on the winning side now. We're progressing along those lines, and yes, it would be best if it was stopped, everything immediately.
I'll say something else too. It was really amazing show today. We really set up a great relationship with the with Dr. Rima and Ralph Fusatella, and he's an attorney, and they are filing a lawsuit about the unconstitutional nature of all vaccines, and they literally had it queued up where they could potentially get an injunction against all vaccines. And it would be an immediate stop to the usage of vaccines, period.
That's wonderful.
It's amazing. And they have a great strategy. And, Dr. Rima, if anybody has not, I'm sure most people haven't, but you need to go to the Speak Project and see today's show with Dr. Rima and Ralph Fusatella, because in all this chaos right now, her husband was General Burt, right? And he's very reputable. He was over, bringing like remote viewing into the military, right? But he was such an advocate for humanity, right? And such a, and he said that the number one issue that will decide the 21st century is informed consent. The guy was brilliant, right? And so they are there is a petition right now, and I will post it before we get off, or I'll share my screen or something. Mm-hmm. But there's a petition right now pertaining to this that everyone needs to sign, and everyone needs to get everyone they know to sign, because they need 100,000 people. And if 100,000 people sign it, they have to take action. And it's essential. I mean, it is really essential. And they're just such an inspiration to me. I mean, they've been doing this a long time. And I'll tell you, Dr. Rima and Ralph, they are, I mean, just not even an ounce. You couldn't even tell they've been doing this for 30 years. They're so fired up. And Dr. Rima is just such a lovely person. I mean, really amazing. And she's so fired up, and she's unapologetic, and she doesn't give a damn what anybody thinks about it. She's like, this is the truth. I know it. And then it's great because they're such a deadly combination, right? Because she's this doctor who's been, helping people for 42 years, right? Like, they sent them in. They're like one of the groups that went in when there was like the Ebola outbreak in the Congo. And they were like, getting all these people, like, curing the Ebola, but they're not allowed to say cure, right? And they were doing it with nano silver, right? Which we know. I mean, Dr. G on our show has talked about that before. But like the nano silver, man, it's like, and then the Congo, like, basically, even though they knew it was helping people, they told them if they continued to do it, to talk about it, they would get all of their funding pulled. Just to give you an idea, like, look, we're killing people intentionally. So if you keep talking about this, you're messing up what we're doing, right? So we're going to pull your funding. I mean, that's the reality of how this evil oligarch operates, right? But Kim told me the other day that this planet can easily house 100 billion people.
I agree. Yeah, easily. That's on land. On land. Then we can go build underwater cities. We're not overpopulated in any way. It's ridiculous.
Not in any way. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
What we are, though, is underdeveloped in reality, right? Because they've suppressed, our natural, curious nature, right? They've suppressed our innate ability to explore, to develop, to learn,
to engineer, right? to fix things, to make, to problem solve. Everything is made so challenging, so difficult, right? And it's supposed to be that way. No. We have so much abundance on this planet. There should. How long has they been talking about curing hunger, right, on this planet? There's so much food produced and thrown away. So there is no excuse, absolutely none, for hunger.
Absolutely not. But I mean, I love this. There's a book by Alfie Kahn, and he talks about punished by rewards, right? How kids are innately driven to learn. I mean, you just left a kid somewhere, they would just constantly be building and learning, figuring things out. But what we do is, like, we give them incentives. Now they're doing it because they get stuff, right? So now they'll change what they want to learn for the incentive. Mm-hmm. And it allows you to structure and control them, right?
Right.
That's how they get, like, all these, kids, like, hey, they need nurses, so every high school senior girl goes to, and some of the guys go to college to be a nurse, right? But are they naturally drawn to heal people and to be, play the role of a nurse? Probably not. And then good thing, because then when they become a nurse, all they do is paperwork all the time, right? So they can register more people and more stuff and everything.
Yeah.
It's a shame.
No, it's true. I mean, that's like I've always had a natural, instinct for like engineering, right? So whether it was dealing with electrons or social engineering, looking at social groups and so I can see how to form things and put things together and bits and pieces and make them work, as a whole. Right, and so I went into that, right. But no one could stop me, right. And it didn't matter what my teachers, I remember going into high school, right, and I switched high schools from Pennsylvania to California, and the California ones were 2 years behind. I refused to go to the classes that I had already taken previously in junior high in Pennsylvania, and so. I ended up going to UCLA at the same time. I enrolled in UCLA. I was going to UCLA and high school at the same time. And then, but the system is set up to stop, people from going towards what they were naturally inclined to do. Just chasing money, chasing that. The one-upmanship, hey, my next door neighbor got a new car, I've got to get a new car, that kind of thing. I always had a lot of money, not now, but before I always had a lot of money because whatever business I was in, I was always enough. I could buy any car I wanted. I never liked Mercedes. I never liked BMW. I never liked any German car. I didn't like the way they drove. I didn't like the way they felt. And I didn't like American cars because they were crappy. I always tested them out patriotically. I'd go, hey, I'm going to get a new car. Let me go look at the American cars. Yep, still crappy. Don't want any of them. And then I went on and I'd always get Japanese cars. Liked the way they drove, so I got Hondas most of the time. But I could have got, I think I got one Infinity, and I thought, oh, this actually drives well. And
Infinity's a cool car.
Yeah. So, but mostly I didn't get the luxury type cars, But I did have an Acura Legend. I did have an Infinity J30. But wasn't drawn. I didn't want a Bentley. I did like Jaguars. I like the way the Jaguars drove. I considered a Jaguar at one point.
My dad was a car dealer, and he got me just for the night, he got me a Jaguar XJ12 to drive to the prom my senior year.
Oh yeah, there you go. That would be the one.
That was a nice car. That was nice.
Yeah. You were styling then.
Oh man, for that night, I was cool. Yeah, no question.
The next day, no, not cool anymore.
No, yeah, back to me again. Yeah.
Oh, so let me let's go back around and get to the what was it? The high table. What is this group called again? What's the actual name of this group? The high table? Is it the Fed table?
It's the internationally the international federally regulated tables.
Internationally federally regulated table. That's the group name.
Right, and they like to be just called the tables. Right, we'll just refer to them as the tables. And they believe themselves to be the top of the world. The top of the world. So let me tell you what the top of the world looks like. Like every other fraudulent bank. Because what they want, right, they want Kim to do a KYC. Anybody's ever tried to sell their Zimbacks, know your client, right? Mm-hmm. So you have to have 2 forms of ID, right? Your passport or whatever. And then you have to photograph it and put it in a little package, and then you have to send in proof of funds, right? And all these things. Now, and then you have to explain what bank your funds are in, right? Now, Kim has brought money into the banks that's sitting there, but she's not going to expose that, first of all. But if they understood that the Manna World Holding Trust is actually the central bank of all the other central banks, they'd realize everything in it is held in a digital system, in a quantum system. It is, if they actually knew what they were talking about, they would never ask that. Mm-hmm. So what they claim is that they're already dealing with Kimberly, they're already dealing with Kim Gogan, right? They're already talking to her, and she's being investigated for something. That's what they say. Now, one, they're not talking to her, so they are dealing with probably, His Majesty Michael Uriel over there in the fictional kingdom of Manna, who is, might as well be the kingdom of lollipops and lies, because it doesn't matter because it was dissolved, right? So it has no real authority other than what the actual invested interest of those serving it, and I wouldn't, and I'm careful, I understand when people have a misunderstanding about things, and for the most part, I'm very patient and gentle with that. I get that, people in the RV, they don't need to be beat up. They've already been beat up enough, right?
Right.
But these guys, they're all over the world registering people, right? Trying to take ownership in the rights, right? And they think if they get enough buy-in from all these different groups, right?
They want 51%, right? We get 51%, we win.
Right. So they think if they just, they convince everybody that, they're the real one, and they've got to register. They can prove it with documents, right? Because they love their documents. But it's much in the same way that the United States became a corporation, right? The United States is a corporation, but America's not.
Right.
Right? America's still America. So there's still a republic that exists. There's a real laws that say the Constitution is the law of the land. And in that law of the land, you are provided with certain unalienable rights. Therefore, if any law is made that violates your constitutional rights, it is a no law. You don't have to abide by it, and no one can enforce it. Mm-hmm. Now, the more people that knew that and actually understood their laws or their rights, they would stand up for their rights, because they realize you don't have a right to pull me over. You don't have a right to harass me right now. You don't have a right to tell me to do any of these things. Where's your oath of office? Who are you serving, and why are you harassing? I was talking about this in my little town that I live in. It's about 4 miles long. There's never a crime. Never. Nothing's going on, right? But you've sat there with me on calls, and you'll hear sirens going off constantly. There's people pulled over all the time. And you know what? And there's unmarked cars. What the hell do you need an unmarked car for in this little podunk town? I mean, I'm just outside the city. There's nothing going on. Why do you have unmarked cars? What are they on assignment for, right? I mean, maybe they're watching me, right? But and they do.
There's a reason, because you're such a threat.
Well, they have. There is always, at all times, there's always someone observing me across the street from my house at all times. There's always a cop in an unmarked car every day, all hours of the day. So, but my point is that what are these guys doing? That's why you became a cop, to make sure that you stop people from walking through the park. I mean, why can't we walk in our parks at night? Because because one person did something terrible. Now all of us have to suffer, right? Why can't we go to the beach? I mean, you can't even hardly get to the beach. Here it's like, it's such a hassle. It's like you could drive and know the beach is close by, but you just can't get to it. So, it's just all these different things that they have in place. It's like, if we just knew our laws. Now, that's the same way that I think all these groups, they think that, well, you have to get them right now, while everybody still believes these are the real laws. And then they'll be able to throw a bunch of contracts and we'll all back down and say, well, they have the contracts, everybody registered. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't matter. Their registration, they have no power. They're not an entity. They're a group of, that went rogue, and they were supposed to protect the trustee to bring in the assets of the planet, but instead they opted to, sign a contract with the Rothschilds to deceive and betray Kim. Now that's what they did. Now think about that. So
I didn't know that. I didn't know that was what that they had actually signed a contract. I thought it was just because they discovered the Uruguay programmers on the Bush Ranch. They're
yeah, but I mean,
sipping on the black straw, sipping on a straw of black goo.
Oh right, yes. I mean, that probably did happen. You're right. I mean, if you're a parent, I forgot. Black
Yeah,
goo.
I know. It was like when when they said that there's black goo at the Bush Paraguay Ranch, and of course Angela Merkel has her place right next to Bush's. And so they're sipping on the black goo, this is obviously the one without heart. This particular black goo, compared to, which is I guess alien influence.
Alien influence black goo. Yep. That's what it's coming down to.
All right. So now there was actually an agreement with the Rothschild, and what was that agreement? What was?
I don't know the specifics of it. Excuse me. I don't know the specifics of the agreement. I just know Kim said it. Like they opted to take a contract with the Rothschilds. Now, I can guess what it is, right? Like, I mean, think about it. Oh wait, here. I'm sorry. Of course, I know what the contract is because it's the exact same thing they do over and over and over. Right. So let's think about it. Okay. What do they do? Okay, they're going to go register what they think is going to be, the most valuable asset. So they go out to all the tribes now. Now they didn't give a damn about the tribes before, right? They would put them on a little strip of land and say, this is your area, and they would keep impeding on the land, right? Even though, you're talking about the original tribes and all the tribes extended off from that, whatever, right? That have kind of stayed native. And so go out and appeal to the tribes. And now you show up like, oh, listen, we're here to help. We have all this money, all these wonderful things we're going to do for you, right? And you show up and you start feeding a bunch of lies, just a bunch of lies. And then, depending on who you're talking to, they tell one group, well, Kimberly Ann Gogan, she went rogue and she has left. And the Universal Council has told her that she's been removed. So there's one lie, because that's never happened. Kim is the ambassador for the planet. She is the Earth commander of the galactics that are here on the planet, which is like the United Nations of all the galactics in and outside the Earth, like on the surface and beneath the Earth. She is, technically, she is the rightful heir to the throne, right? And she sits on the Universal Council. So, and she's obviously was just recognized to be the one that represents all of us, right? So they make up that lie. Then you'll talk to another group, and they'll be like, oh, no, we work with Kim, very closely. We've talked to her. She's lovely, right? She's lovely. So now, I don't think that's a lie. I think, from what I understand, they have a Kim double, right? Who I have a suspicion about who that is, actually. And, basically, so they had their Kim double, and then this person, tells them whatever they want to hear. And so now this another part of the same kingdom that just said she was removed is also working with them.
Yeah. Well, that's what I pointed out in their handbook, the Kingdom of Manna handbook. On the one hand, they basically label her, as a traitor, and they also say they got all the power from her, right? So it's like, which is it? Is she good or is she on the terrorist list?
That's where trade power comes from. That's what they say. Trader power. So yeah. So anyways, you got this group out there, rogue is going to be doing who knows what they're promising, right? And then so this had to be part of the contract, right? Rothschild said, go register everyone. That's what we did. That's how we got here. We just registered everything. We got to do whatever we wanted for like thousands of years. It was amazing.
Go register. Go.
Yeah. We can do the same thing. We'll turn this whole place into, hedonism 3. It'll be great. So basically they did that. I know the contract entailed that. And then what do? They pretend that they have ownership of the tribe or the land the tribe's on. And then they try to leverage that as an asset in some bank. Now they're leveraging assets in these, the new crypto banks, right? Which, and I mean this, Dan, this is not just to blow smoke or to paint this at all. You're the only person in the world I would remotely trust setting up a cryptocurrency. Or I hate even calling it that. I know you have a different term.
Crypto, I know. It's a crypt, death type of symbolism. I got it. Yeah.
But everybody else who tries to do it, they're like they can't get what they want, so they find another way. So you basically have now there is Manna, right? There's a which they recognize the power of the word Manna and the symbolism of it, right? It's the letter of the law, but they don't have the spirit of it, right? They don't have the principle. They don't understand what it means.
Right.
The sovereignty, the freedom, and restoring and vitalizing people, right? So they go out and do that. So now, then you have this international, federally regulated, the tables. They say that they've been around since ancient times. So as far as I can tell, basically what they're trying to do is like they read some books and they basically trying to utilize a Babylonian system, which is what was prevalent. They probably have access to one of the older systems like the Babylon system, which was the system they're bringing the GCR with. And then it was a system in the what did I think? Poseidon, is that what it's called?
Prometheus.
Prometheus, right?
Yes.
Right. So all these different systems that they probably have access to something like that. Don't tell anyone
that system is a secret.
Right. So they have all these. They probably have access to something, right? But so after all these, back and forth, Kim and the gentleman who I think has good heart and he's trying to do good things. After all this back and forth, they finally they leave it out there that Kim is being invested, not the real Kim, right? Because Kim has the highest security clearance in the world, and the standard that was set before her. Let's think about the standard that was set. So, if you're in a position of power, basically, for example, you have a former Arkansas State Senator, Linda Collins Smith, who got killed, right? And one of the things, and she was investigating CPS and the Clintons, and one of the last things that really gave her all the information she needed is she went on her husband, a judge, on his government laptop, and when she goes on that, she finds all of this child porn, but not just child porn. Her husband, the judge, in the judge's chambers where all the cameras have been removed, but he took the extra time to set up his government laptop to record him having sex and raping kids, right? And this is going to be breaking after this later tonight. By the way, we're gonna talk about this, and so you guys can tune in to Speakwalkers later tonight. But you're going to find out we actually have this documented from people inside of this, right? And we have the actual evidence of this being true. That you could just make a call to the CPS, right, or which down there is DHS, and you could order up what you wanted. 10-year-old, blonde hair, blue eyes, right? They would bring it to you.
And they got paid, right? They got paid because there's a bounty on each of the kids that they remove from a family.
Oh, you mean like
the worker that went out to go grab the kids, right? From the household, right? So they get paid. There's a bounty on that they get paid for each family they break up. Well, I'm using the term family they break up, but they're saying, we'll save the child from that unsafe environment, right? But really, they're getting paid to do that. So I'm just making the point that someone's placing an order and they're getting paid. Do you know what the amount they get paid? I thought it was a pretty substantial amount. Thousands of dollars.
Yeah, each child now, I think, from the time it originally got set up, I think it's about $8,000 for each child.
Yeah.
Just to take them into custody, to have them available. And if you get them adopted out, so in other words, you take a child, they have to hold the child for 15 months. So basically, if I gather this correctly, they take a child, and for 15 months, they basically put that child in a foster home. And it doesn't really matter who it is, right? It could be absolutely anybody. Any, waste product drug dealer, child molester, just as long as it's not with their family, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then you got about 15 months where you can pimp that child out, right? And I have spoken to 36 different people. Now, granted, I'm talking about this and welcoming people to come talk about this. But I talked to 36 people, all ages. I mean, not all ages, but 18 and above, but 18 to 50. No, not 50. 18 to maybe 35 or so. And they've all reported horrible abuse and programming abuse, by the way, because it's not just abuse. It's very specific, targeted programming, right? It's much, much more than abuse. It is designed to fracture people into certain places, and they can go just so far, right, in their life before they're reintroduced to some kind of trauma that brings them back, and they'll bail out.
Right.
And they'll change their course so dramatically because so much of who we are is programmed into our subconscious, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's why it's so important to just love your kids all the time. Love your kids. Tell them you love them. Show them you love them. Send them good vibes. Let them know. Pay attention to them because you're programming them whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
So, anyways, that's what's happening. So, so that's the kind of thing that this government in general has been about.
So
right?
you're going to be revealing something in this upcoming episode. I did catch the last one with Michelle, and kind of So I know that that you guys are ramping up.
Yeah.
So
we're trying to be more effective and keep these things shorter to actually, connect with people, right? And just make them realize, just that one hit, let them feel what's there, And so we're trying to do that, but I know, my producers, they really want the timeline drawn out so people can see what happened, when did she go dark? Why did that happen? And and to be honest, we've owned this story. We've been a month ahead of every single thing. I mean, Michelle's team down there, Arkansas is no joke. I mean, they have been beat up and ridiculed and destroyed by the Clintons, and I'll tell you what, they are fighting back. So good for Arkansas.
Yeah.
And I'm just supporting them because, to be honest, anything. And I'll tell you, I'm not really about just exposing this stuff. It's what do we do about it, right?
Right.
So, I'm about changing it.
Yeah, I mean, I see also, on the, let's say the political maneuvering that's going on that Sarah Huckabee is, left the Trump administration, but she's going to run for governor of Arkansas, right? So they're going to take that state back. Now we see that, Trump is going after Cummings, right, and Baltimore, and now that's front and center, but he's going to do that city by city. They just revealed that last year, $16 billion went into Baltimore. Where is it? That's what they're asking.
16 billion?
$16 billion went into Baltimore. So where is it? Where is that money? Where did it go? It's obviously didn't go to the rat catchers.
The rat catchers.
Yeah, so there was a new news article put up, right, and some people talking about this. So they were investigating, say, hey, this is Baltimore, and they say that it's rat infested, and then of course on cue a rat runs across the screen.
Perfect.
So it was very, there's rats, and they're infested. So, and it also has. So Cummings was basically coming down on the border security and things like that, and he's also talking about you can't deport these people back to Guatemala because it's unsafe there, right? But Baltimore's murder rate is twice as high as Guatemala, so it's not safe to be in Baltimore. So, he has no way to really, no legitimacy and speaking about this with what's been going on in Baltimore.
Yep. I mean, all of these things are, this is programming and planning and execution, and just following a pattern and just repeating it over and over and over again. You are, when you get a pattern that works and you just keep applying the same general principles over and over again, you will get the same basic results. So they're expecting that. What they're not expecting is the evolution of the human spirit, the outbreak that's happening. The real outbreak is not going to be a disease. It's the outbreak of the heart, of the human emotions that is rising to the surface, and it's getting so powerful that you are not going to be able to suppress it much longer. And the more people start to talk and think and feel that way, the more impossible it will be for them to stop it. And I'll tell you, I really had a revelation about something today, Dan, and I got to share it with you. It's beautiful. I'm telling you, today's show was such a beautiful show. If you just appreciate that, I don't know, for me, for example, I'm always so grateful that there were those before me who took the time to take the hits for me, to investigate these things and go up against the monster and stand up to the giant so that somebody like me at the end here could come in and contribute in any way. And I'm amazed by this. So that was amazing by that. But here's the best part about today's show is Dr. Rima's story. Now, whenever she talks about her late husband, General Burt, now one, she has plenty of evidence to show, whistleblower evidence, that he was murdered, right? Because he was too strong, right? Mm. He was talking to people about informed consent. He knew everything that was going on, and he was taking that. He wasn't just going to sit down and let it happen. So, but she tells this story, right? How he had reached out to her and they were supposed to connect about something in business when she was or earlier in her career before when they first met, and she knew he was the one who set up the whole remote viewing program, right? So she didn't want to have anything to do with him. She knew he was evil because she knew how they had done it in Russia. That basically they would torture people and break them into these patterns to do the remote viewing. So she wanted nothing to do with him. But they were both going to the same conference or something. So she was going to meet him there, but she'd never seen him before the internet. She'd never seen him before. She didn't know what he looked like. But she probably figured he's a general. He'll probably be wearing a general outfit, right? So she goes to the airport, and while she's standing with her luggage, she looks across the room and she sees this man who she's never seen before, but in her heart, she said she knew him from another life. So she ran over to this total stranger and she leapt into his arms. And they started to kiss. Then they kissed again. And then when the man set her down, they looked at each other and then they introduced each other, and then she realized it was General Burt. And they were together from that moment forward.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Isn't that pretty? I mean, it's like when you hear her tell it, she talks about General Burt now, and she's really into it. She's like, he's still with me now. And she goes, I'm not just talking about, he's here moving things. And when you see her light up, and there's this great picture, because, he's a general, right? So every picture is in general pose. I'm a general, I kick ass, right? Yeah. And he's got that face, that general face on, which, I dig that about the military. But then I pulled up this one picture, and you see this man looking at her, and he's older. I mean, at this point, they've been together for 30 years, and he's head over heels in love with her. And I just everything about that story. That's how we ended the show today. After talking about all this darkness, if I ever again question what I'm fighting for, I'm just going to go back and listen to that, because that's definitely what I'm fighting for. That there is love, and it's natural, and it's innate, and it's the most human thing about us. That we are lifted up in love. Literally, that's what she did. She leapt into the air. right? And she was lit, and the man didn't even hesitate immediately. He caught her and just started kissing her, and they were just together. And somewhere in the deep recesses of all that we are, we know that's real, and how that is our right. And that's what Tui talks about with Manna all the time. That it's really about the love. It's about what's natural in us to be connected. So now, that's all I guess I got. But I wanted to tell you this too. Tui did confirm that he's already in touch with all the tribes and he knows exactly who they are. And he told me that they're ready to go as soon as Kim's ready to talk.
All right. I did send Tui the link, just so everyone knows, because everyone says, "Did you send Tui the link? Did you send Tui?" Yes, I sent Tui the link. But the only issue is if Tui, if we add the third person on this call, we are on a timer at that point. But that's okay. 40 minutes, and it'll disconnect as soon as the third person joins. But that's all right. I'm happy to know what's going on with Tui. I know that there's let's see, my contacts in England are saying, hey, there's things going on in Fiji, and what's they're expecting the government to change there. So it's interesting.
Well, I think that's a good expectation on their part.
I think so.
Really. Dan, let me just share this screen with everybody because
sure.
I really, please, and try to add this, to whatever. But it's really important because
I think it's the first time I've ever seen you screen share.
Oh, dude, you got to go and see the show we did today. Now I understand how to do the backdrops. So I've been. This is a great tool. I'm going to use it better too. Is I started putting up all the information that they're talking about as they're talking. It's so much more effective.
Yes.
But this is Dr. Rima. It is Dr. Rima at truthreports.com, I believe. And you can go here, and there's one of the things you can get here is there is a card, right, that you can actually get that you can give to your kids, and you can carry it on your person. That says, "I do not consent to," and it's a very official legal card. It is, authorized, whatever, to say that your medical preference is not to take any medication and not to be vaccinated. And it was, and she is adamant. She has 42 years in practice. I think more than that, actually, but 42 years, the last number I read. 42 years in practice, and she has never prescribed a single medication, and she is an absolutely incredible doctor. She told us a story about a particular queen. She was talking about the queen, of England. I would guess she didn't say that, but, I'm sure she's sworn to secrecy. But, and she talked about, so she's obviously reputable. So if the elite, royals, right, if they're doing it, if they're using her, I think that what she recommends has a lot of weight. Has a lot of weight. And I recommend everybody please go sign that petition. Tell everybody informed consent. I can't speak on it well enough yet.
Well, put the links in the Telegram group so we can kind of promote them better. I
will do that. Yeah.
And give me her website also. I want to send her website to my daughter.
Yes. Well, this is it here. It is Dr. Rima Truth Reports, DRRIMA, truthreports.com.
Okay.
Oh, that's her right there with her husband. That's General Burt right there on the picture, if you guys can see it.
There you go. Out of uniform, but okay.
Sweet. I can't even do it. Hey, there it is. That. I can't even do that. Zoom is way better.
Yeah, we got those tools in Zoom. Yeah. Well, it took you long enough.
I know, and it's so true. Like you were telling me months ago, I feel like such a jackass. I wish I'd be so much. I guess we'd be so much further along by now. Right. Listen, Dan, I do things the hard way. Dan.
Tui says you need to learn the lessons, and so all right.
Yeah, that's right. Tui's right. Now I guess I finally learned the lessons. Go with Zoom.
Yeah, so a lot of functionality in Zoom, so it's good. All right. Well, I guess I think we're good then. We another fantastic episode, and we're moving quite along, and we've got things definitely ready to break every direction. So come back tomorrow, and we'll see. Be sure to subscribe. Be sure to go ahead and pass on the links, and join at wwg1wga.love. Contributions of $1.11, $8.88 a month, or $99.99 a year. all those things are helpful.
Go sign up, please. It's a few bucks. Help a brother
I
out.
feel like getting out a tin can and a tin cup rather, right? Pass,
it's worth it. It's valuable, and it's like, you know what? Like Dan gave up a lot to do this for all of us. And if he wouldn't have done this, this big project wouldn't even have launched the way it did. I mean, not at this pace. So, we are all indebted. I'm certainly indebted to him, and all of you as well. If you see any value in it, if you don't, then you shouldn't be watching.
Yeah. Okay, so if only I could put a meter on everybody. No. That's the Tesla, the anti-Tesla people out there, right?
Yeah.
Figuring out how to put a meter on people now. No, it's all contribution based, and I appreciate everything. I'm trying to get this expanded. I really, content, bringing content together. This is where I'm just out of my bandwidth. I can't get into doing the other things because of the things I'm trying to get launched, and so I can only get a certain amount going. But at least there's a structure there ready to pick up and run with it. But if I had enough people contributing, then I would be able to hire people to do that. So it's a chicken and an egg phenomena, but it's all right. We'll get there.
Well, anyways, man, I appreciate it. Everybody out there, I appreciate you paying attention and hanging out with us. And I'll see you tomorrow night.
All right. Bye, everyone.